afternoon, and welcome to UFOVIDMAG.com. Welcome to another informative edition to UFOVIDMAG.com. I'm sorry I've been away for a while. I got abducted by the Pierce County Sheriff's Department. Compliments of Officer Tate, badge number 399, Pierce County Sheriff's Department. They arrested me for a domestic violence charge, which is nothing. I was unable to update my website until now. There'll be a lot of new FOIA requests and a 1995 near miss over Manchester, England, of a green glowing flying triangle report of a sighting from the British Ministry of Defense. Also an update on a flying triangle from over Holland, Michigan, July 1st, 1994. Michigan, 3 donut-shaped metallic objects in a triangular formation tracked on U.S. weather radar large targets as a 747 moving over Lake Michigan. A response for information to La Presse from Jules Bellevaux. Got that right here. We also wrote to the Chronicle from the Muskegon Chronicle. We have that letter right there. And we'll later scan these on. Also want to talk to you about a large mothership. I wrote to UFO researcher Richard F. Haynes. So if you're going to arrest me for being a UFO researcher, you might as well go arrest everybody. There's a hell of a lot more of us out there, and I'm not a crackpot. Pierce County piece of crap. Okay. A letter from Richard J. Haynes from NARCAP. And a FOIA request to the Luke Air Force Base, February 14, 2002, response to my FOIA, sent out on March 29, 2002. Also interested in GE's People's Test Facility in Chillicothe, Ohio. It's not too far away from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, home of the Foreign Technologies Division, the division of the U.S. Air Force. They also claim to have no such contacts to such area known as U.S. Air Force Secret Test Bed, Area 51, Groom Lake, Nevada, R848 on any U.S. geographical map. Now, March 8, 1994, Joey Graves and his mother, Holly Graves, called 911 to report a strange moving lights over Lake Michigan. Officer Jeff Feldhaus arrived on a witness 3 objects. 911 was contacted. U.S. Weather Service radar operator Jack Bouchon had Muskegon tracked 3 large objects moving at high speed in a triangular formation over Holland, Michigan. And out over Lake Michigan, I had contacted the Muskegon Chronicle regarding Michael Walsh's story and any information out about 3 objects over the center of Lake Michigan. He gathered during his investigation, called archives on April 1st, 2002, called McCord Air Force Base. Also contacted La Presse. Reporter Jules Bellevaux regarding the Bonaventure Hotel about a UFO story I seen on the show Sightings. I followed up on this lead and I contacted Mr. Jules Bellevaux about this UFO story he wrote. There was a 12,000 volt power lead lost at a nearby military base that same night that Richard Haynes, UFO investigator, another one. Why ain't you bagged him, Pierce County? Instead, you gotta mess with me. Now, also, followed up on a FOIA that I sent out the 8th, 1992 regarding a UFO saucer being moved out of a large hangar at MacDill Air Force Base in Florida. It's also on sightings. I'm following up on that as well as a FOIA. That's freedom of information for you Nazi soup Nazis at the Pierce County Jail. Okay, also interested in a large gray metallic object over Luke Air Force Base, February 14, 2002. Colored lights across the bottom. I sent out a FOIA on March 29th of 2002. Following up on UFO sighting reports of a gray blimp-like object close to the ground, 2 orange lights, parallel over Luke Air Force Base. Also, March 14, 2002, large black flying triangle, 3 large circular lights in each corner, 300 to 400 feet across, yellow, red, white lights on top of object flashing on and off one larger red revolving light in the center of the slow-moving object without a sound. March 28th. I was working on my web show at my computer, and I started hearing a low buzzing sound like a power transformer. But it got louder, directly over my mother's trailer. I grabbed my binoculars and ran out the front porch and looked up to see a low cloud coverage, to see a large gray or black triangular object with two lights in the rear. One larger revolving red light seemed to be strobing, but not really strobing like a normal aircraft strobe. It's not like a McCord C5 or a 147. This was much different. It was heading in a northeasterly direction, just about the treetop, just above the treetops, above the clouds, as if it were trying to hide in between the cloud cover, so not to be seen. It was about 8:35 p.m. It was larger than a C5 transport. I know what a jet throttling down sounds like. I hear them all the time and see McCord's planes fly over my house all the time. It had a green light on the left wing and a red light on the right. This thing didn't. Witness was me. And that was on the 28th of March 2002. Also, just recently, California reported a flying saucer report on the night December 3rd, 2001. California, and Mr. Robert Ballard, a physician from San Mateo, California, was driving down the highway on 101 with his fiancée when the pair of them noticed a large patch of lights about the size of 4 football fields over the ocean. This light made a dark night as bright as day, and then the spherical craft shot into the air with a bright flash. White and yellow contrail, Mr. Ballard said. It had a diameter of approximately 200-300 feet. The tail turned red and then yellow, and then it continued straight up vertical. It was indistinguishable from a star. This process took about 5 minutes, but the first time either one of them had ever seen anything like that. Also, another report from North Carolina, Saturday, the night of the 15th December 2001. Mr. Tom Young said we had 2-hour waiting outside the restaurant. We were sitting on a bench around 7:20 p.m. I noticed a very faint amber-colored triangular shape approaching, the object moving in a southeast direction. I've always been interested in UFOs. 99% of the time can identify anything in the sky, but this object was strange. Initially, it looked like a jetliner with its lights on, shrouded by heavy cloud cover. As it got closer, however, I noticed that within the triangular structure, it appeared to have many spherical or orb interchanging within it. The entire craft remained faint, amber-colored. Throughout the spheres appeared to be more color, although translucent. My curiosity in the object attracted the crowd, who also saw the same thing. One lady let out a startling yell. Another said, "They're just balloons." However, the size of the object at the altitude would have meant that the balloon cluster would be huge, and retaining a definite shape, but the rest of the craft did not appear to morph. Somewhat, we watched it fly off, disappear towards Fayetteville at an altitude of around 1,000 feet. This was clearly unidentified, and that was by Mr. Young, he concluded. Also, recently, in Washington, D.C., flying triangle sighting, December 14, 2001. Washington, D.C., at 11:30 p.m., on night when a major meteor shower was being reported across the eastern United States. Mike Gomes noticed 2 lights that seemed to change direction. I later determined that the brighter of the 2 was actually 3 lights in a triangular formation. The smaller lights followed the triangular lights back and forth. They were faster than a jet airplane, but not extremely fast, moving thoroughly, flying at a medium altitude, perhaps 5,000 to 10,000 feet. The actual size of the flying triangle was undeterminable. After some time, the light formation vanished in an instant, and the other light turned in the opposite direction and flew off. I thought this might be a military aircraft since I live near Andrews Air Force Base. Mike said, but the triangular shape, it was sparkled my curiosity and made me think what something unusual was going on. It may be very well Air Force plane, but it remains for me a UFO, nothing the less. Also, more interesting, July 30th, 2002, not a UFO, but maybe over Kazakhstan in 2000. According to Russian journalist Yevgeny Fuladorf, the UFO sighted over Dagestan on November 14, 2000 was actually an advanced Russian weapon, an unmanned aerial vehicle, UAV. The sighting was widely reported throughout the world after an initial story carried by Interfax agency Philip Mantel, and my new book about Russian UFOlogy contains a detailed account of this and other fascinating sightings and UFO reports from the Caspian Sea. Dagestan is one of the republics of a former USSR, a part of the Russian Federation. It is located between Caspian Sea on the eastern and Kazakhstan mountains on the west. It borders Chechnya. Also, July 8th, hundreds of UFOs over Russian airbase. Sarajevo, Russia. Hundreds of awestruck eyewitnesses reported watching in shock and disbelief as 36 UFOs waged a spectacular dogfight above the Russian Air Force base. An incredible aerial battle took place at an altitude of about 5,200 feet. It was seen by witnesses not prone to hysteria or exaggeration, including members of the Russian Air Force, military intelligence officers, and 2 visiting foreign journalists from Poland and Latvia. 2002, 2000 returned to Kazakhstan, Mazakstan Yar. On August 19, 1998, Nikolai and his group left Moscow and traveled first to Altamus in search of the German Chetnov, who was a member of the June 1992 expedition to investigate the crashed object. The next day, with only enough money to rent a helicopter for one day, they did so and took off in search of the crash site. At about 20 minutes, they had found the site, following the directions of Emil Bachurin, who had been at the crash site with an earlier expedition. The earlier expedition. Okay. UFOologist Nikolai Sabutin and Emil Bachurin of the Russian UFO Research Station Roof Force are to be believed. A 600-meter-long UFO lies near the gorge in the Tishan Mountains, the celestial mountains of Kazakhstan, near the borders of China. Also, to follow up on that object, there is a report that there was an electromagnetic discharge around that object. When they approached it, their equipment failed, their compasses seemed to go cattywampus, spin around. They blew up 2 power generators. They had to go back and get more equipment to go back and investigate this object. The Russian military then shortly showed up and was able to eventually try to lift the object out of this gorge. Well, they tried, the cable snapped, their snow was too thick, so they gave up. They haven't been back, but there have been other expeditions. Let's see, what else? Need to follow up on a sighting in Dover, England, about 5 p.m. on Thursday, 20th of December, 2001. Me and Albert Road, Dover, Kent, saw 3 very bright lights in a triangular formation at an altitude of approximately 200 to 300 feet, coming from a direction of Dover Eastern Docks, heading in a northerly direction. It first observed over Dover Castle, a famous landmark, and after a couple of seconds, it banked westward and headed in my direction, getting lower. This time, I could see a dark triangular shape which the lights were attracted to. The object made no noise, as I felt it was going to crash before it disappeared from view behind a row of nearby homes. The entire incident lasted some more than 30 seconds. Heathrow unknowns. But nothing-less major UFO flap over central London 7 years ago, when 5 uncorrelated targets were detected on radar by RAF Neatshead fighter aircraft were scrambled from 2 bases in the south and sent to intercept and identify the objects, which according to radar operators concerned gave off excellent reflections and the aircraft approached all 5 objects, flew straight up, and disappeared from the radar screens in a matter of seconds. Also, we have the newest Filer Files edition, and I'd like to share that with you as well. For those of you who don't get Filer Files, we do. Filer Files 26 by George Filer. Posted 6/27/2002. The summary. UFO sightings over New Hampshire, Spears, flying triangles over Virginia, Georgia, also a flash Arkansas daylight cylinder, Texas daylight disc, Nevada flying triangle, California orb, and Washington a triangle. And more on that Washington sighting. What? Is it done? Time? Oh, you already got a cold drink. You're already ahead of me.
No.
How do you tell?
Starting. It's recording. Stop it.
There you go. Hello and welcome back. I had to go catch myself a strawberry margarita. It's how it's getting weathered out here. Here we are shooting from an unknown location somewhere in the great Pacific Northwest. Pierce County don't need to know where I'm at until Monday the 8th when I'm supposed to appear in court. Now, back to the Virginia Flying Triangle. Witnesses report that on June 6, 2002, I went to meet a friend and walk on a boardwalk, where we observed a storm coming at 8:15 p.m. As we looked at the southern gray sky, saw a black triangular object in the sky. At first, we thought it was a plane, but then realized it did not move. This black triangular occupied exactly the same spot in the sky while I walked 2 blocks and stopped at a neighbor and asked if she saw something. She looked and said, "What is it?" I said, "I don't know." She decided it was a kite. The object had not moved and was so high for the clouds to occasionally pass between the object and the ground. In the next 5 minutes, the storm became too dark to see the object. The black triangle had silently hovered at cloud level for 10 minutes before a darkening storm occurred. That is thanks to Peter Davenport, Northwest UFO Reporting Center. Southern California, we have a wobbler. Charleston, South Carolina. Donna J. Bullock writes, "Since I moved from Texas to South Carolina almost a year ago, I had not had any sightings until Friday, June 13, 2002, at about 10:30 p.m. I saw a wobbler in a southeastern sky. It was too far away to describe and appeared only as light in the sky, but acted like a usual object, skittering here and there, going up and down, putting on a show. It definitely was not a star, nor was an airplane. An airplane did not cross for the sky here, thanks to Jonna J. Bullock." Georgia, elongated flying triangle, Flowery Beach. The observer was fishing up a bow on his boat, looking at the stars, and noticed one of the brighter stars did a U-turn and took off and disappeared on June 6, 2002. I know this wasn't a satellite as it moved away too quickly. It moved across the sky, maybe 2 hand lengths, then started at a distance itself till it could no longer be seen. Tifton, MUFON GA Dr. Joe Pugh, a MUFON consultant, contacted State Director Tom Sheets on Saturday, June 8, 2002, about 10:30 p.m. The witness and her husband were traveling northeast on Highway 319 towards Osceola at about 4 miles of Tifton. Her cell phone rang and a female apologized for the wrong number. Dr. Pugh thought this was unusual, as it had never happened before. Shortly thereafter, she noticed some specific light low above the trees off to the left. The sky was overcast, but low. The glow of the city lights from Tifton lit up the section of cloud cover. They considered these particular lights to be unusual because they were low. Proceeding on, they appeared closer, and she observed an aircraft shaped like an elongated triangle. She further noted there was a white light at each corner and a red light on the bottom center. She was close enough to that she could clearly see the dark triangular shape against the glow of the overcast. Traffic prevented her from pulling over, so she drove on a short distance and turned into a water tower area. Quickly looking back, she saw the light slowly move across the road. She turned around and drove back to get a closer look, but could not locate it. She drove back towards Tifton and turned off another road in her search, and then encountered two additional but indistinct craft with lights to her front. But they were opposite, glowing overcast, and seemed to fly along very slowly. These lights were back to the area where first observed as Dr. Pugh got turned around and drove to the tower. Once again, she observed the hovering lights. Headlights from a passing traffic blinded her momentarily. The lights then crossed the road again and disappeared. She continued to negotiate traffic. This is my slow-moving craft thing with lights accompanied by a sound like a roaring jet engine. Dr. Pugh made a valiant effort to get a close look with the further unknown craft to investigate further. Thanks to Tom Sheets of MUFON. Also, Boca Raton, Florida, newsflash. Boca Raton, witness husband couldn't sleep on June 6, 2002. She was woke by a computer in the kitchen at 5:30 a.m. after calling numerous times. Finally came to bed. As he laid down, a bright flash of light came in the window. It was a bright strobing light that seemed to went out. We both looked out the window and did not see anything. 1 yard, which is fenced in, so the lights from the street can get in. I stayed awake for about an hour and a half and watched out my window for anything strange. About 6 a.m., it flashed again on the side. I went outside to look and found nothing. 2 weeks before, about 4 a.m., I saw small lights in the yard around the pool and our 150 palm trees. I saw two lights about the size of a small flashlight in the trees about 3 feet from the ground. Another light was at the treetop of the palm on the opposite side of the yard. I woke up my husband and said, "Look at the lights in the yard. They flashed like bugs." One flew by the window and went straight up over the house. The other two were still in the bushes. He decided to go outside the screen patio to see up close what was only 3 feet from the bushes with the lights. He called the lights and they flew around and back of the bushes and flew up into the air and disappeared. Sure scared the hell out of us. Thanks to Peter Davenport, Northwest UFO Reporting Center. Thank you again, Peter. Beautiful weather we're having out here in the Pacific Northwest. Pierce County just don't know where the hell I am, do they? But I will be in court. I assure you that. Arkansas, Daylight Disc, Longdale, Richard B. Bakari writes, I live in a rural town, and I've been watching the sky since my mother had a sighting 30 years ago. Till today, I was always able to explain whatever I had seen. I was pulling into my road at 3:55 p.m. on June 14, 2002. I just happened to glance at the clear sky and saw a white bar or cylinder. I could only see enough to establish that there was no wing, tail, window, or rotor configuration. It was just a plain dull white. It was not a reflective surface. It made me think cylinder as it was traveling east very slowly without making any noise. It slowly flew over in less than a minute. I realized then I'd stopped the car in the middle of the road, took a quick glance in the mirror to see if I had blocked anyone, and looked up and it was gone. This was no ordinary craft, thanks to Richard Bakari. Nevada, orange glowing flying triangular object, Las Vegas. Witness reports on June 6, 2002. A glowing orange light was seen about 10:30 p.m. We watched it disappear and then appear 3 times over 60 seconds before going behind the mountains. The last time we saw it, the orange glow was coming from 3 orange lights in a triangular shape. The object was large and had a mass, but there was no sound. Peter Davenport reports that this date that an amazing Koreshkin predicted a dramatic UFO sighting would occur over Nevada on June 7, 2002. He retracted the statement, and that prediction had been a hoax designed to show how gullible human beings can be regarding the UFO phenomena. Sounds like he was pretty gullible to react to the prediction. thanks to New Fork. Also, California, chrome orbs size of basketball. Concord on Thursday, June 6, 2002 at 10:45 a.m. Two workers saw two balls about the size of a basketball flying overhead. The objects were chrome in color, seemed metallic. One seemed to be moving up as high as a passenger jet flying overhead. The witness stated, the second one was dropped towards the moving west. The bottom, transparent. They were getting further apart from each other, with higher one moving up out of sight. In 3 minutes, the second light kept getting closer, just moving west faster and dropping at about 4,000 to 5,000 feet. It just seemed to slow and stop. It seemed just to get close. It seemed just outside the landing pattern of our local airport. And after 5 minutes of watching this orb, it accelerated so fast to the west that you would not believe the incredible speed. If you would have blinked, you would have missed it. And thanks to Peter Davenport from New Fork. Hello and welcome back. I had to catch up on another strawberry margarita, or daiquiri, pardon me. I'm having them all. At an unknown location somewhere out in the Pacific Northwest. It's beautiful weather we're having outside, so I decided to film an outdoor skit. Instead of doing all these indoor cramped type places I've been doing in the past, I decided for a more casual, relaxed, kind of a get buzzed kind of thing. After being persecuted and falsely, diagnosed by Irene of the Pierce County MHP, who is more like the SS in a Heinrich Himmler movie. They run that place like Stalag 13. I mean, I have Charcot-Marie tooth disease. I am a MUFON investigator trainee. I follow up on case scenarios. I also follow up on UFO case sightings. They accuse me of being delusional because of my practices and my beliefs. I'm not allowed to believe in the UFOs or extraterrestrial visiting our planet. That's bullshit. Pardon me, Your Honor, but it is. I know you're probably going to view this, sir. So I'll say a big howdy to Jack Nevin. How you doing, Your Honor? Now, Scotland was ranked the top UFO alien visitation. London Observer claimed that Scotland is usually associated with spectacular mountains and trembling rivers. But Scotland is a proud and new boast to its becoming land trip of a choice of flying saucers and other mysterious metallic hovering craft. More odd incoming craft have been tracked over the hills and glens than anywhere else on the earth. And UFO enthusiasts are flocking north and experience close encounters of the Teleprian kind. A survey published reveals that about 300 UFOs are seen in Scotland each year, 4 times as many as in France and Italy, which appear to be aliens. Next, favorite destinations. When you think of a number of sightings in Scotland compared to the size of population, it's phenomenal, yet it is not remote. Highlands that play host to the visitors. The 90s saw a surge of sightings. In central Scottish area west of Lothian and Stirlingshire, and particularly around the Bonnie Bridge and near Falkirk, the area has become known as Falkirk Triangle. Some people have encountered shimmering discs that just yards away from their bodies, while others said they had been attacked by UFOs. The most famous such incident occurred in 1979, when forestry worker Bob Taylor claimed a gang of large shimmering spheres with spikes protruding from them like naval mines had set upon him. Thousands of reported encounters of UFO spotters followed. There are 3 airports and a gas-flaring oil terminal within a 30-mile radius. Craig Malcolm took footage of a ball-like log or dog-legged back and forth across a clear sky. A plane-like object with no wings sent black reek belching out the back of it and soaring off. Bonnie Bridge status of the UFO capital. Promoted 1 conciliar to call for it to be twinned the Roswell and ambitious plans of sightings in the Glasgow area. Visit Scotland, the tourist board commissioned the latest survey. See, as it's a growing market, the Falkirk Triangle has already attracted hundreds of visitors. Thanks to Stephen Kahn, June 23, 2002. Very low crop circles reported. Nancy Talbot reports that there are normally numerous crop circles reported this time of the year. There has been a surprise drop in the numbers so far this year. 5 have been reported in England, 2 in Holland, and 3 in Germany. Astronomers have identified 100 known planets. Okay, Gaylord G. Ford writes in last week's Fighter Files 25, he discussed 13 new planets found in space. Isn't it curious that scientists claim terrestrial planet-sized moons and recently discovered large planets are usually not considered suitable for life in our solar system? Some scientists imagine Europa or even Ganymede and Callisto having life, but generally judge them as too cold. With Europa currently appearing to have a large icy covered ocean, Galileo probe magnetometer data suggests that large deposits of underground water. Apparently, Grace Overwise, icy, Ganymede, and Callisto, some of the Callisto, both of which actually exposed to land, in contrast to Europa, which is deeply icy covered. Some of the newly found large planets have been moons that covered to support life. In this case, the moon is approximately to a giant planet, warm and close to a star, provides nighttime warming, infrared illumination, and a large, close interplanetary moons. While nearly half the time, a close in the moons will protect it from the direct exposure to the star's light and particle radiation. When the moons are in the shadow, they're primary. The moons close in a large planet, apparently having tendency to keep the same side towards the planet and the opposite side from primary planet, which they orbit. This effect will gradually leverage the friction of the day in which the primary portioning moon will face to have to endure the blaze of a relatively close sun. Okay, now we go to Fighter Files 26. As we carry on to 26, I have to call my cabana boy, so you have to pause for a moment. Hi, and welcome back to UFOVIDMAG.com. Here we are, transmitting from an unknown location somewhere around the world. Hi. All you Australians out there, I love your beer. Rather good, eh? Alright, summary of UFO Fighting Filer Files 27, posted 7/3/2002 by George Filer. UFO summary sightings: New York disk, Maryland parallelogram, flying triangle over Virginia, Florida as a sphere, Mississippi as a daylight sphere, Indiana as a boomerang, California as another triangle sighting, Washington sightings investigation, Canada lights, Argentina numerous cattle mutilations, reach 170. China's 5th UFO sighting, Australia UFO follows car, Norway UFO Center opens, Mount Hood may awaken, and Russian author claims UFO saucers are UFO reconnaissance aircraft. That ought to be interesting. Oh, God bless America, and happy 4th of July, everybody. I'm free. Okay, UFO sightings. Men in Black 2. During Jay Leno Tonight Show, last night, Will Smith was the guest telling about his new movie, Men in Black 2, where the government personnel attempt to hide the truth about UFOs from the public. Just ask Jay, what is your picture about? Will Smith said, the picture is a documentary. Everyone laughed, but the picture, despite fantasy, may be closer to the truth than the public realizes. As the sun looks smaller, Earth reaches its greater distance from the sun. Apollon, during the 4th of the July holiday weekend, curiously, our planet is globally warmer. When it is further from the sun, thanks to NASA scientists, the distant sun, signs of indicate that Mount Hood volcano may be awakening. Oregon, Mitch Petros writes, in the last few days, seismologists have begun to watch Mount Hood very closely because it is starting to show signs of waking up. With an eerie similar to the repercussions of Mount St. Helens, the Mount Hood is located in the Cascade Volcano Range. Jim Birkeland, a geologist, retired, and who has formerly worked for the USGS, United States Geological Survey, for those of you who can't stand abbreviations, says, my thoughts are that this seems almost identical to what happened at Mount St. Helens on March 20th, 1980, when at 4 p.m. the quake was followed by several others. On March 27th, 1980, it began to occur. Then on, now you knock that off. Then on, where the 7:36, hundreds of aftershocks followed. Editor's note, the famous Mexican volcano Popocatépetl. Wow, I said that shit while I'm buzzed. Ain't that the shit? Mount Popocatépetl has almost daily sightings of UFOs. It is reasonable to assume that UFOs will take an interest in Mount Hood. A pilot, Kenneth Arnold, sighted in June 20th or 24th, 1947, of UFOs not too far from Mount Hood. Got national press and made definite beginning in the flying saucer area. Also about that time was the Maury Island incident, where a gentleman, I cannot recall his name at the moment, but it is on my website. Check it out, the Maury Island incident. Also, Russians claim UFO or U.S. reconnaissance aircraft. Here's the Aussies, got some beautiful roos out and about here. Oh, in the book of Liquidation of UFOs, author and researcher Pavel claims that he has proof that UFOs are flying discs manufactured in the United States. He says, the basic flying disc principle was developed by the Germans in World War II and is used in their Foo Fighters after the war. The Soviets and U.S. engineers learned their secrets. Alurin explains that the principles are used by flying discs. It is an aerodynamic effect that allows the craft to fly using the air luminescence around the UFO vibrating body. Electric devices cause an uneven oscillation of a cup-like elliptical form in the atmosphere. The repulsive power of the inductive, which occurs in the metal plastic body of the flying disc as a result of the same principle in the flight of the flying saucers. The great circular canopy, which slowly descending, has resistance and compensates for gravity. The pull of the parachute jumper, the design is very important with the hollow surface having, therefore, it is clear why the first flying saucers had such form that from below is smooth from above. These flying saucers fly without anti-gravitation. They simply lean against the air through irregular micro-amplified movements. Microgravity is overcome. The principles is essential for the same Medusa in the water, which also uses the difference of forces. While moving up and down, the outside surfaces of the wing create the lift. So as they can hover like a helicopter, standard engineers can create the forward propulsion. Pavel Polyurin says, let us logically think if the flying saucers are not hallucinations and are not natural phenomena, so they must be artificial devices. They are produced in only two variants. They are produced either on Earth or somewhere else. UFOs seriously differ from aircraft and helicopters. They have no wings, they are silent, and they have some luminescence around them, or coronal discharge. Therefore, extraterrestrial versions in the most logical, however, is explained, is to be impossible. Too fantastic. During George Bush's visit to Moscow, Ren TV show, the film UFO Life Behind Barbed Wire, where generals and colonels of the Russian army told about their observations and about the state program of spying on flying saucers over Russian territory. The generals pointed to the Americans. They are said to possess secret technology that is dangerous for mankind. Pavel maintains that flying discs were created at the end of the 40s within the framework of the secret military project in the U.S., known as Project Silverbug. The 20th century technological charge through many surprises, such as jet nuclear bombs and the UFOs. There were numerous UFO incidences and crashes in the United States that were connected with the development of the UFO for military purposes. He claims it is obvious that these were tests because different devices with different types of engines were seen and photographed. These were also evident that the flying saucers of the 1940s had nozzles, vertical trimmers, and flew in a zigzag way, so as an inversion track could be seen after them. In June 1947, a Roswell incident took place in the U.S. when a flying saucer crashed. The military stated at first they had captured a flying saucer, and that it stated it was a secret balloon test known as Project Mogul. The U.S. military stated at first they had captured a flying saucer. The truth is more prosaic. Pollard says claims the U.S. actively tests secret saucers, and they are stated in their flying devices that were often wrecked. He used information from Dr. Bruce McAfee, Ph.D., book on UFO, the FBI Connection, the secret history of the government's cover-ups of 2000. Pavel comes to the conclusion that extraterrestrials, UFOs, fiction, at the disc aircraft were used by U.S. intelligence for collecting data over the USSR, and to stop exploiting the secret technologies for the wrong purposes. He asked for the world community and public opinion should also be discredited to misidentification of the 20th century, thanks to the online Pavada. Also, I would like to cover the Bob Lazar interview done on Art Bell. I do believe it was back in June 14th. He discussed that there is a pattern, there is a gravity amplifiers in a Omicron or Delta configuration. That is something the U.S. government probably don't want me to talk about. Too bad. After what you bastards have done to me, I'm going to get even. Also, New York disc. But more on Bob Lazar later. Messina, on June 7, 2002, an object was seen in the sky above Route 37 at about 1,000 feet elevation, with a silvery mirror-like appearance. The object was hovering at 12:58 a.m. and then began moving quickly to the north or northwest, appearing and then disappearing. The sky was clear, but the object was almost too bright to look at. When closer, it was a disc-shaped object, and then began to gain altitude rapidly and finally disappeared. The witness felt compelled to report the sighting. This was not an airplane, as far as I know. Thank you to Peter Davenport, UFO Reporting Center, Seattle, Washington. Give a special shout out there to my friend John Greenwald at blackvault.com. I'd also like to give a special shout out to my director, John Schuessler at MUFON. Hi, John. I've been locked up a while. They kind of locked me up for my beliefs in flying saucers and extraterrestrials. And also the belief that I was not, they believed I was delusional, therefore not an investigator of MUFON. Maryland, parallelogram spotted. Pasadena, Bill reports that on June 25th, 2002, it was a hot, humid, overcast, and hazy day, and at 7:30 p.m., I was driving east on Maryland Route 100 when I spotted a large, slow-moving, parallelogram-shaped object low in the sky, a mile or so away ahead of me. Though the haze, the object appeared to be medium and dark gray. Before I reached the Magathy Bridge Road, the object crossed over the road and turned away from me, revealing a very small, slim, and narrow, and in profile slightly wider at the middle, then at the top or bottom edges. It nosed slightly downward and began descending, at which point I lost sight of it behind the trees. I couldn't see anything, any protrusion like wings, stabilizer fins, or rotors. I think I have seen any such prominent features, only visual details. I could pick out the haze with a small silver metallic colored spot at the top front tip, suggestive of a windshield. There may have been a lengthwise ridge along the top of the object, but I could not really discern that clearly. I didn't hear anything, but I was driving in traffic at 55 miles an hour at the time. It's sure beautiful weather out here. Aye, here's the Australians, aye. Good day, aye. Okay. Swing it clear. Didn't hear anything, but I was driving in traffic 55. Most of the time, I had no lights visible on it. The parallelogram profile was about 3 times as long as its width, flying longitudinally at a level until it turned and descended. Visual length was about a diameter of a quarter an arm's length. It was larger than a 747 fuselage. I followed, trying to get another look at it. Caught the light and then proceeded at about 2 miles ahead, past where Route 100 ends. In poor view of the sky, I stopped at the open field at Phelps Liquor, where a couple of teenager guys were playing 2-man basketball, and I asked them if they had seen the strange thing in the sky. A few minutes earlier, they said they hadn't, although this location is fairly close to Baltimore, Washington International Airport. I don't think I've seen any large aircraft low in the sky in that particular area. In the sky was flying at an altitude of under 1,000 feet, moved smoothly and slowly and didn't wobble. Thank you to Skywatch International. Okay, Norfolk. Sailor sees lights. Norfolk, Virginia. Witness who is in the Navy was walking from his car to the ship on June 12, 2002 and noticed an object in the sky. He stated, before familiar to the aircraft or traffic on base, I thought it was just a plane passing by, but when I looked at the object, I noticed how the lights were positioned instead of lights being on each side of the craft, or each end of the craft. They were lined up side by side in multiple colors, such as red, green, yellow, and orange. The sailor said, it was strange to me at first, but kind of thought it was probably a Harrier aircraft that was entering some sort of storm clouds. And suddenly it turned into bright red oval-like flash. As I watched and it didn't come out the other side of the clouds, I would have seen it if it had changed course. But the base is huge. I didn't tell any higher ups about it because I'm not crazy. Editor's note, the military loses hundreds of quality reports due to ridicule. Also, Florida, fear. Field Beach. Witness was going to his car when he happened to look up and noticed a sphere of light moving above the clouds. What looked like first a circular pattern on June 24, 2001. My cell phone read 12:10 a.m. What struck me in irregular is the object illuminated the clouds just below, as you would expect a floodlight to do. But as a floodlight from the ground up, this was occurring from above the clouds down to the ground. There was no floodlight from the ground up that could be illuminating the clouds. In what at first was a circular motion, I watched the object overhead repeatedly in a circular pattern for about 5 minutes. He was mesmerized, as this object was not a plane, nor any object I had ever seen in my experience. The sphere moved in a circular motion. It changed its path and began a zigzag. I had to rub my eyes, keep my eye carefully on the object, because it was moving in and out from the clouds at about 10,000 to 15,000 feet altitude. It proceeded in its irregular pattern for about another 10 minutes. The object would have moved into and out of the clouds, illuminated the above and below the clouds. The object would slow down, accelerate, and again slow down. It was a white sphere bigger than the moon, illuminating the area itself with a tremendous amount of light. continued to move erratically in and out of the clouds and descended closer to the ground. And then it stopped in the air about 30 seconds. The sphere went out. And then the sphere lit up with a pure bright white light, like a flash bulb, for about 15 seconds, just before birds that fly away at speed seapods would be visible. At such high altitudes, I have good vision. I'm very quiet a bit. I had never seen anything like this before. I'm also skeptic, but I was totally blown away by this as I watched these stars for about 5-10 minutes. They simply faded up into the sky as if they were moving away and upwards. Has anyone ever seen anything like this? Spokane, Washington. MUFON. Jeffrey Sanyo reports. The judge has sent me several photos. Several photos since the initial submission through fighter files. Although the frequency of sightings is unusual, typically indicated misidentifications of airplanes. I have not seen any photographic evidence these are airplanes. Any legal airplanes from any direction has at least one strobe blinking 1 second visible. These would appear to be as bright as white spot with no motion smearing on a long exposure. None have appeared, nor have red-green lights have been apparent. Several appear to show non-standard lighting, as a few appear to show color changes. Photo sequences appear to show a path impossible for an airplane. I suspect these objects are alien or otherwise, are at such a low altitude as they are literally below the radar. And are rejected as ground clutter. I can only judge it based on the photo and the witness evidence, that the judge makes conclusions based on the evidence, speculates, and admits this. This evidence enables in his photos that are not apparent to be non-expert that match his testimony. His photographic knowledge appears to a little better than others. Telescopic photographer and photos sent to me has 3 lights, towers, lights, which I used for reference points. These were quite adequate. I've asked for reference shots to check film responses, which he sent me. Not quite understanding my need, that sufficed in a way he didn't understand. The anomalous features I find are: 1, an erratic path, easily done with a wind-borne balloon or kite, not easy for a plane or helicopter. 2, anomalous images, fast color changes to do with any light source. 3, unknown lighting configuration. I'm not an expert on any plane's lighting, but as the usual commercial craft appear to be eliminated. An interesting case of this is the Lawton Triangle, Bruce Maccabee, 2002. Canada Flash, Siscombe, Ontario. After reading this issue, that's kind of interesting that Canada would have UFO flashes, seeing that they have a secret underground base in Cantana, Ontario. The United States government and the US and the Canadian government share. Plus the CIA is involved, the NSA is involved, as you well know, Jack. Okay. After reading this issue of Fighter Files, I submitted my experience to MUFON tonight. Because my experience happened at almost the same time as one of the other sightings near Aurora. And this is also Ontario. I live in Sicko, Ontario, just north of Lake Erie, which is about 40 minutes drive from Brantford, where other reports happened. About 11:10 p.m. on June 6, 2002, I stepped out of my balcony facing west and looked up into the night sky. A very bright streak of greenish light moved across the sky in a silence and disappeared in a second. The ribbon of light moved west 30 degrees above the horizon. Just slowly after this, I saw a plane whose lights were tiny compared to the size of the ribbon of light. Last summer, I also saw a white light moving slowly south while on north shore of Lake Erie. I described it to a neighbor who flies for American Airlines. He said it didn't seem like any plane he knew about. I really appreciate the effort you put into your newsletter. Keep up the great work, Linda Showcroft. Hey, Linda. Argentina UFOs, dwarf mutilations, and missing water. Mysterious Argentina grows. The wild boar added to the list of cows, horses, guanco, and sheep being mutilated. Wild boar is highly distasteful and detects throughout the sharp olfactory system. The presence of strange and 8-month-old boar was mutilated. While the mutilation count is now reaching 170, the case recorded extended to 9 Argentine provinces. This is 6th species found within the mutilation to be of blood, geometrically perfection, incision, cookie cutter incisions, missing the anus and the jaw. Or missing the anus, the tongue, and the jaw. To the surprise of ranchers and farmhands escorting him, the animal was still soft in spite of a 14°C temperature. It is possible that any airplane could remain in this condition after it's cold. A mysterious situation also occurred north of Pampan, the town of Racul, at Los Calendes, the ranch where a cow had died of natural causes in the afternoon, only to be found at the incisions on its jaw and missing its tongue the next day. Providence and Tiro Rios has also in picture of these events. In the field of a rancher found 170 kilograms a heifer and a 500 kilogram milk cow, some 800 meters from each other, both preventing the notorious incision marks. Strange dwarf-like midget have been reported wandering the backyards of many neighborhoods in General Archira. A short green entity which runs away from the haze when detected has been reported. These reports tied in with UFO reports and mutilations have in the area in the uproar. The stories have been reported in news and on radio stations. Red intense lights as those from a laser moving very quickly across the countryside are being reported. Veterinarian Omar Fernando Lopez also observed a new case of the interval involved a pregnant cow found at the fields of Juan Carlos Rabelite, showing the same incisions with difference that the cow was about to give birth. There was a circle on the left flank above the underthrough, through which half of the cow's body was protruding. A ranch horse belonging to a quarter horse breeder belonging to a stables north of town, Chilo, was found dead with strange mutilations. It was as thought it had been hollowed out from within. Reported police sources and described the stud horse as of considerable economic value. Veterinarian Carlos Manitabo, who certified this case, reported that the horse was missing an eye and tongue, but no incisions on the military had been performed. It had also been castrated, and significant parts of its small intestine and rectum had been removed. Mighty interesting. They're all cattle mutilation and everything in the Colorado San Luis Valley area. They've all had the rectum, the eyeballs, the tongue, the lower lip, the jaw, the scrotum, the heart, the lungs, the liver. Everything's been gutted out of the cow. All the blood's been drained out of it. What the hell's going on here? Is this really a conspiracy of our government to help the pharmaceutical companies of the United States of America to find a new synthetic blood in case of a medical emergency? Are the pharmaceutical companies fighting over this right now? What is our government really telling us? And who is Bob Lazar? Let's go back to Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar was hired by the Office of Naval Research at the Department of Energy, DOE. He's a nuclear physicist. He's also studied propulsion. He was an electronics whiz, computer genius. Graduated from MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and also Cal State, which the government, or Caltech, which the government went in and erased his files. I have found a tax statement from Bob Lazar, 1986, right before he was fired, and set up for a prostitution scam that he didn't do. He worked for the Office of Naval Research, which is located 25 miles southwest of Area 51 in Groom Lake, Nevada. This research facility is Office of Naval Research and is underground facility. It seems to house several flying saucers, at least 24 that I have come up with that they have recovered over the years since 1947. Prior to that, there were two more, 1942 and 1943. There was one off the Southern California coast that the U.S. Navy recovered in 1943. There was one in 1941 or 1942 that they recovered southeast of the San Bernardino Mountains. And it just happens to be a coincidence that San Bernardino Mountains, there was a show done on In Search of, on ancient aliens. They found this rock. They cut this rock in half. This rock had a lithium diode crystal. It looked like a spark plug. I could draw a picture of the object. Looks like a rock. You got your solid rock. You got inside the rock, you got this fucking hexagon looking thing. And then you got this little core inside it. This is the rock cut in half. Now what in the hell is that doing in a rock that's over 500,000 years old? According to the radiocarbon dating done on that rock at the university, in which the hikers were hiking, just camping out, looking for geostones and geos and rocks. They come across this rock. They took it back to the university. They cut it in half. This thing had like a cylinder inside it. This thing is 500,000 years old. Where in the hell did we get the technology back then to produce a silicone-based substance inside a rock with a crystal and hair, thinner than a hair fragment? Thin line quasi-crystals with gold filament, like they found at height 611 in Russia, Vladivostok, height 611. Look up sightings. Look on my website. Right here, you will find that video and that audio from height 611. And there is one element that is not found on Earth that they have uncovered. Promethium. Promethium is not on this planet. It does not consist of any element that we know of. Also, as another element of interest is element 115 above the periodical chart that the government probably don't want me talking about right now. But after what Pierce County just put me through, I think I owe you guys a favor. You guys abducted me, tried to probe me, you persecuted me for my beliefs, and I'm not going to stand for it. My rights were violated. I have muscular dystrophy. I have Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease, which is a division of the Muscular Dystrophy Foundation. I contacted the regional director, Rosemary Owens, and told her about my abuses in the Pierce County Jail. I was roughed up, put in handcuffs. Well, I kind of asked for it by punching a window, but they pissed me off. When you're locked up, you don't like to be persecuted for your beliefs. They told me I was delusional. I thought I was a MUFON investigator. I didn't have no UFO documents from the CIA, the NSA, the DIA, the Office of Naval Intelligence, the Office of the U.S. Air Force Intelligence, the Ministry of Defense, Canadian military documents, briefings, memos, United States documents from Project Sign, 1948, Project Grudge, 1949, and Project Blue Book, 1966 to 1969. I do indeed have all these documents. You guys are a bunch of idiots. You therefore drugged me with Ativan for no reason. I'm not too happy. But, as you can see, I am a MUFON investigator. Would you like to see my card? Allow me to introduce myself. Now, as far as being locked up unlawfully, I kind of deserved a little bit of that, but the roughing up wasn't necessary. The little black-haired Nazi bastard knows who he is. I don't have to say who you are. You know who you are. I won't use no names. I won't make no threats. But I will get even. Now, more on Bob Lazar when we return. Hello, and welcome back to UFOVIDMAG.com. Had to pause for a station break and to get myself another nice mixed drink. It's rather hot here in the beaches of Hawaii. Staying at a friend's bungalow for the weekend. Cops wanted me in town, couldn't stay, had to go. Sorry. Well, Australia UFO follows two female motorists in Victoria on Wednesday, June 12, 2002. Emil P. and a woman companion were driving from Leganov to Miraboo North when they encountered a UFO. My friend and I were traveling to work. Emil reported that Wednesday we sighted something in the sky, but I put it off as a jet. It appeared long and silver looking. 1 week later, on June 19, 2002, silver object returned in the same time. I took some interest in it, to be getting closer. As it got closer, it appeared to be about a 40-degree angle, a silver color. While my friend continued driving, I was watching and came down to our right-hand side. It appeared to be hovering at about 200 meters away. Next thing, it was gone. I looked up, and it was in front of us again. It seemed to get closer and then further away before it vanished over the horizon. Thanks to UFO Roundup, Volume 7, number 26, from 6/25, 2002. Editor Joseph Trainer. Norwegian UFO Center opens up on June 27, 2002. Norsk UFO Center opened at Allen. UFO Center showed pictures describing sightings and showing films from Hesendalen sightings in Hesendalen, Norwegian. And also a lot of more. It is open daily and is located in the main center in Holtalen, northeast village of Hesendalen. It is a famous UFO valley in Norway. The northeast town of Rosso, 33 kilometers south of the center. Torredyne in the northeast. City is 120 kilometers north. The center is also a UFO safari to Hesendalen, thanks to Aaron P. Strand. At HiUOF.no, Professor Ostwald College. MUFON 2002 International Symposium. On July 5th, 2002, the 33rd Annual MUFON Conference will be held at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Rochester, New York. Premiere the top speakers from the U.S., Canada, and England on UFO and abduction. The Platinum Package is priced at $150 per person. Please contact Jim Burrock, nysite@yahoo.com, or Bob Long, Alien Chaser, at AOL.com, or the MUFON website. Well, that's all, folks. Till next time, when I decide to talk, and if I'm not locked up and persecuted for my beliefs, in the county of Pierce, of course, or I have to be back in jail, probably back in court, one or two. Till next time, see ya.